Hello, everyone. My name is Erin. Welcome to today's webinar on managing money with your partner. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with us. We hope you find this talk informative and enjoyable. If you need any assistance during the webinar, please just reach out to my colleague Eric Steiner or I through the GoToWebinar chat that's over on the right side of your screen, and we're more than happy to help you with any issue you're having. We'll also be collecting questions during the webinar to hand to our presenter to answer live at the end of his session. So if you have anything that comes up, please submit a question. That would be great. Our expert today is Mark Hobbins. He's the founder and president of Family IQ, the nation's leading online resource for self-improvement, parenting, and relationship education. Mark has passionately pursued his mission of strengthening individuals and families for more than 25 years. Mark has been a consulting expert for numerous media organizations, including CBS, NBC, People Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, LA Times, and the New York Times. Mark has consulted with and appeared on various television shows throughout the world, including A&E's Intervention, The Tyra Banks Show, and Dr. Phil. Mark has authored and co-authored dozens of articles, courses, and workbooks to help parents improve their parenting skills and strengthen their families. Of course, Mark feels his greatest accomplishment is his 30-year marriage to his wife, Diane. Diane and Mark are the proud parents of 7 children and 5 grandchildren. Welcome, Mr. Hobbins.
Well, thank you, Erin, and welcome to all of you. It's very fun to be with you on this very unique day, right? To be talking about managing money, and I hope that we'll have and expect to have a really terrific experience over the next 45 or so minutes. I look forward to engaging in some very wonderful things that I think will help you in this timely topic of managing money with your partner. Managing our financial resources is such a vital discussion in order to actually protect our relationships. In fact, as many of you might know, it's the number one problem in marriages and relationships and the number one cause of divorce. I think this is true partly because money is the most measurable, I think the most quantifiable of all relationship issues. As you can see on your screen, we're going to put up our own poll, if you will, and sort of get an assessment of our audience, you today, as to where money issues rank among other issues in relationship stress. So if you wouldn't mind, Erin's going to post up a poll here, as you can see, and I'd like you to respond to this anonymous poll. We have no idea who you are, but we'd like you to interact and choose the appropriate answer. Where does this group, you all, rank issues with money among the top 5 relationship stressors? Money and among the top 5 relationship stresses. I think this will be interesting for us to share together. So when you all have voted, Erin's going to tell us what the results are and how this audience relates to the one we had earlier today.
Okay, great. Thank you. Almost everyone has answered. I'll give it just a second more. It definitely ranks in everyone's top 5. It looks like most people are putting it at number 2 or 3, so it's right up there.
Okay, well, there we go. Thank you so much. I don't know, before we started where this group would sort of be on this sort of poll, if we will, not knowing if you're, the similar as the general population or maybe more unique. But let me suggest to you, this is where some other surveys and studies have actually identified people that you may know. Did you know that according to Money Magazine, couples are found to fight about money twice as much as they fight about sex? Additionally, research on marriage has shown that couples who are materialistic rate at the bottom of the happiness scale. Interesting. According to Jeffrey Dew, he wrote a paper called Bank on It, and in this white paper, he said that thrifty couples, based on his analysis, thrifty couples are the happiest of all couples. Isn't that interesting? Thrifty couples are the happiest. This can be short-lived, however, for when a spouse feels that the other person or a partner feels the other person foolishly spends money. It increases the likelihood of divorce by 45%. Well, the good news is that we don't have to be a part of these sort of group statistics, ladies and gentlemen. We can, and you are taking a proactive stance on preserving your relationships by identifying, I hope, 1 or 2 things that you can do today to improve how you and your loved one can more effectively manage your money. It does seem to be the universal issue, however. You've ranked it among two, three, uh, mostly. It's a universal issue that's going to contribute to the sort of stress that you experience in life. But we're going to rise above the typical partnering experiences and change the relationship culture that you may currently have. So how are we going to do this, you may ask? Well, there's a couple of things. The webinar today is going to help you talk with your partner about money and how to address perhaps some uncomfortable issues such as debts and spending habits. I refer to these more formal meetings as a couple council. It's a place where you get together, you and your loved one, and have, I think, meaningful, important discussions. You can do this for a variety of things, but today we're going to focus the couples council on you and your partner getting together to talk about money. The goal here is not to tell you how to manage your money. That's not my role. I'm not a certified financial planner. I'm not a person who does that. Really, my focus is on how you nurture a relationship with regard to how money is utilized by you and your partner. So in a couple council, how can you effectively communicate issues around money? And that's what we're going to focus on today. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Let's start with the idea of communication. This is where you're going to discover your financial personality. We're going to talk about this in just a second, but we all have sort of personality styles. We also have a financial style, and I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. We're going to learn how to talk to your partner about the values that you have around money. We'll discuss budgets and how to create a balance sheet to determine your net worth. Second, we're going to help you learn how to identify your priorities, identify your dreams and financial goals, and learn how to stick to a budget and how we plan for unexpected events. Third, we're going to deal with debt. We're going to talk about breaking free from the shackles of owing money. You're going to learn how to stick to a plan for paying off your debt and how to live within your means. And lastly, we're going to get some insight into how you can build your financial portfolio. We'll investigate some wise investment practices and understand the rules of investing with your partner and how you can together achieve financial peace and freedom. So before we can take any real steps toward sort of financial bliss, okay, it's going to be helpful for you to understand what type of spender you are and what type of spender your partner is. Whether you or your partner are a spender, a saver, or an impulsive buyer, you can start taking steps toward financial peace and freedom by knowing your financial personality. Underneath your financial personality, in my opinion, lies a set of beliefs or values that you place or have placed on money. Some of these, I believe, are unconscious to us. For instance, we will identify 4 personality types, this financial personality we talked about. Let's review them together so we can understand them properly. And as we do, I'd like to ask you to do a couple of things. I know you're probably multitasking, but get a pencil and paper, and I'd like to take note of these 4. And I want to see if you can identify the financial personality that actually best fits you. The impulsive spender is one who may understand the merits of good money management, yet is for one reason or another unable to stick to a budget or financial plan. Impulsive spenders usually possess a have to have it now kind of attitude, right? And they're the first in line at any big department store sales. Impulsive spenders commonly purchase things while they're waiting in line at a checkout counter. The planner, on the other hand, saves up for big purchases. Instead of compulsive spending, planners usually start investing at a fairly young age. They enjoy setting up budgets and financial plans, and they review their financial situation and future plans on a relatively frequent basis. The oblivious spender is a type of spender who doesn't like to address any financial matters and tries to avoid thinking or talking about money at all. Oblivious spenders are the kind of people who rarely balance a checkbook, okay, and they rarely review their credit statements. Oblivious spenders actually use money to address other underlying or emotional needs. Now the saver, also known as the penny pincher, uses caution and discipline when it comes to money. This type of spender is rarely caught off guard financially and can handle unexpected events with relative ease. They sometimes have trouble, however, spending money on necessities and may do without, even though they may have the financial ability to purchase things. There is positive movement, ladies and gentlemen, when each person in the relationship will identify and own the dominant or most frequent kind of financial personality they possess. So today, recommendation number one for you as we're talking is for you and your partner to simply identify and verbalize your financial personality to one another. This is a wonderful way, in a non-confrontational way, to begin a more serious issue in terms of talking about how you both view and manage money. So first off, let's identify our financial personality, okay? Now, it's best to schedule this couples council, as we call it, at a time when you both are well rested, in a comfortable setting, and in a relaxed state of mind. Your money conversation does not have to make you tense or your partner tense. Although, generally speaking, most conversations about money will usually occur in reaction to an incident, and typically a negative incident. So one of the things that you can do is to schedule this conversation at a time when you both are quote, not responding to an emotionally charged incident, sort of unquote. All right. You will want to discuss many such important things in your relationship when the emotional slate is clean and you both can invest attention to the issue without having to prosecute the other person or feel you have to defend yourself. We want to take all that out. As you begin your financial realities, in terms of discussing these realities, please remember these important facts. Number one, your upbringing is a major influence. People are raised differently and are taught different ways of handling money matters. Make your understanding around your upbringing. That is an important thing to begin with. Maybe your mother was a penny pincher, and that's why you balance your checkbook every day. Or your partner's father spent money lavishly throughout his or her childhood, and that is why they always want to buy something. How you were brought up is going to affect how you handle money. And the only way to get at the root of you and your partner's financial behavior is how to talk about money in the context of how money was utilized and managed as you grew up. Second, your financial tendency is not unchangeable. Just because your partner may purchase expensive electronics every other week doesn't mean that he or she is not able to change. People do change. They may never be the penny pincher that you are, perhaps, but as you work together, common ground can be met. Likewise, if your partner is a penny pinching Scrooge, you may be able to help him or her loosen up a little bit and learn how to develop healthy, balanced financial attitudes. People change all the time, and you and or your partner can change in a positive direction. Third, understanding your partner's financial tendency is crucial to dismantling misunderstanding and resentment. Knowledge is power. Knowing and understanding your partner's predisposition towards money and how they utilize and view money will help you understand the way he or she handles their money and potentially your money. In turn, you can begin to identify poor spending habits within yourself so that you can come to a mutual understanding of how you will both handle money together. Now, an important point to remember as well. Acquiring money and spending money has its roots for many of us in our emotional needs. For many individuals, money, or the lack of it, actually impacts self-esteem. Being able to become sensitive to your partner's underlying emotional needs is critical to becoming more united in your relationships. Communication around such issues can be extremely valuable. For instance, shopping or buying something can relieve stress for a lot of people that I know. Understanding and communicating this reality to one another can open the door for further discussions and increase empathy towards each other. As you begin your money talk, it's critical that you understand what you need to talk about. So can I offer maybe 3 or 4 things that you can discuss? In your couples council, your financial goals and dreams are certainly at the top of the list. In the current economy, our dreams are not to be confused with lavish lifestyles as much as our practical dreams that come from a financial stress-free life. You can talk about the creation of a balanced budget. Suggest that we are aiming not to spend more than we make, but to save as we're finding a way to achieve a balance in our lifestyle within a budgeted framework. I think you can also talk in this council about spending areas that could use some trimming. I often suggest to couples I've visited with over the years that they learn to perform some kind of plastic surgery, as it were, when it comes to credit card spending. Next, how these goals can be achieved. How can you develop a written plan that is agreed to so deeply that it overrules moments of what I would call emotional spending? Now, here are some B guidelines for all of us to have in our mind, at least while we're going through this, okay, and having this talk about money. First, I'd like you to be relaxed. Have your discussion during a time of lower financial stress. Again, not reacting to any incident, and in a physical place that actually fosters cooperation. Now, I know these can be, sort of highly charged emotional discussions, but I'm inviting you to create a relaxed, inviting atmosphere for this discussion. If you feel things may get out of hand, there's a couple things you actually can do, right? You can have this discussion in public, maybe at a place of worship or with a trusted advisor. Next is to be present. Turn off the cell phone and the television. Let the answering machine pick it up. And if you have children, consider leaving the kids as a babysitter so you can invest 100% of your attention into this discussion. Be understanding. Understanding your partner's attitude towards money, as we discussed, will greatly help you to gain additional insight to and refrain from judging and blaming the other. Being honest is so critical. Don't hide any expenditures when you're putting all the cards on the table. You have to be perfectly honest with how much debt you have, how much you've acquired, how much something may be costing you. If you feel a tendency to be dishonest, I'm inviting you to ask yourself, why are you afraid of being dishonest with your partner? Remember certainly that nobody's perfect. We all have made financial mistakes. You just have to lay everything on the table in a positive, honest way. Next is being patient. Get to the bottom of the money barrel is going to take some time. So be patient. Don't try to rush through, and particularly don't rush through this experience of talking about money just so that you can say, sort of, checking off a box that you've accomplished it. Remember, at the end of the talk, you want to know each other's goals and have a budget that you can help each other achieve. So be patient, because this stuff actually does, ladies and gentlemen, take time. Be fair. Don't hold grudges about the past, about past spending habits or past financial mistakes that you or your partner may have, achieved. Learn to be accountable, accepting responsibility for poor decisions you have made in the past, just as you take credit for the good decisions that you've made. And it's important, lastly, to be positive. Approach the talk with your highest possible level of optimism. Repeat to yourself that you can change and that your partner can change as well. Well, now that you understand the rules of the money discussion, you need to know what you're going to discuss. And so first and foremost, let's start with getting a list of our assets and liabilities. So on your note that you're taking, you got a little notepad in front of you with something to write with and on, right? Let's talk about creating a balance sheet, as it were. Identifying our assets and liabilities, namely what you own, OWN, versus what you owe, OWE. This is commonly called, as I said, a balance sheet, and it's used to get an accurate view of your financial standing. First, let's start with your assets, sort of what you own, OWN. Divide your assets, theoretically, into three categories. After you make your list, you can put them into three categories: liquid, savings, and fixed assets. Again, I don't want to get too complicated here. You're going to create a list of all of your assets first, and then you take those assets and divide them into these three categories. Liquid assets are those assets that you have easy access to. Savings are those assets for retirement or big purchases, and fixed is basically everything else. This financial statement, as you probably know, is often requested by lending institutions to assess your credit worthiness when you're looking to purchase something. This is an important view of your household's financial health. At the end of the day, everything has to be on the table to adequately assess where you are and where you plan to be. And this is a great way of starting. To complete your balance sheet, you just need to subtract your liabilities from your assets, and voila, you have your net worth. If your number is positive, then congratulations to every one of you. I'm high-fiving you right now, knuckles for some. You are well on the path to financial strength with your partner. Preserving and improving your net worth is going to be of paramount importance to wise decisions and combined unity in terms of those decisions you're going to make. If your number, however, is negative, keep your chin up. It's not that bad. It's good that you at least know where you are and you understand your net worth. But now you can start making changes to getting on that path to financial strength with your partner and an improved relationship, in my opinion. As in most endeavors, if you don't know where you're at, it's difficult to outline a path of where you want to go. So an honest evaluation and mutual understanding of where you and your partner are will be at the very foundation of building a more successful, healthy financial situation. And as I will emphasize over and over again, it will solidify strengthen and unify your relationship. Something you and your partner need to decide on is how you're going to handle your checking accounts. This is a practical thing. Now, some couples choose to keep their checking accounts separate, while others would rather pool their money into one account. There's no one best way for doing this, but let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of joint accounts with your partner. One advantage of having a joint bank account is that there is less bank management. Using one bank reduces fees, financial paperwork. It also allows you to closely monitor each other's expenditure, sort of a way of keeping you both honest, right? If you're sharing an account, you can regularly discuss what you are spending money on. It also definitely easy to pay bills, buy groceries, and go out to eat when you only have one account to deal with. However, a disadvantage of having a joint account is that it's hard enough to balance one checkbook when just one person's drawing money out of it. It becomes that much more difficult when two people are drawing money from the same account. There's a lot less independence. Now your partner actually sees everything that you may make or what you're spending your money on, so a joint account could mean for you a loss of privacy. Regardless of your choice of a joint or separate account, many financial advisors, including your friend here, advise of having an identified amount of money that each partner can spend independent of the other, something they don't have to account for. So remember, if you have a joint or separate account, consider would you providing a nominal amount. If you don't have a lot of money, just a nominal amount of money each partner can use as they desire. Now, before we actually sort of take the budgeting dive, okay, and walk through this budgeting process a little bit, I'd like to learn a little bit more about you. So I'm going to ask Erin if she would mind to put up a poll, and we're going to ask you about your current situation regarding budgets. Do you have a budget, and are you actively, sort of utilizing your budget? Have you had not had a budget? We'll take a look at those 4 or 5 questions on your screen right now, and if you wouldn't mind getting your mouse and let's answer this question. It'd be fun to sort of know where you all are. So take a look at the poll, and Erin, when the poll is done, again, knowing that these people will be totally honest, this is completely anonymous. We don't know who you are. Erin will share with us what you're all seeing.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Yep, we have a pretty heavy distribution between the two center choices. We have a budget but don't always stick to it, or we don't have a budget but want one.
Okay, well, there you go. Good choices, honest answers. Thank you so much for that. We're going to help you with this, and so let's go ahead and take that budgeting dive. All right. So I know I'm going to sound like your father or your mother, whatever, and I sort of get that, but excuse the lecture if you feel you're getting lectured to for just a second, okay? I'll sort of change the mode here in a minute, but I have to say this, that the value of creating and managing a budget actually cannot be overemphasized. Frankly, you simply have to make time to create a budget and to live by it. Budgeting your money is a crucial step not only on the road to financial freedom and peace, but for enjoying a happy and healthy relationship between you and your partner. Again, let me emphasize that managing your money is as much about your relationship as it is about the money. I can't underscore that enough. So a budget is important actually for 2 other reasons. One, you control your money rather than your money controlling you. Now, I understand that some of you who have a budget but don't actively subscribe to it, or you don't have a budget and you actually want to make a budget, I want to suggest that you may not be feeling the pain of not having a budget today. Some of you probably, many of you are, and some of you may not be. For those of you who may not be feeling the financial pain of not having a budget, there's going to come a time when you will experience a financial stress that you would have wished you had done this today. So today is the first day you're going to make that change. Together, we're going to make that change. When you make a budget, you know what you need to spend money on and what you don't. Effective couples manage money from a perspective of needs versus wants. I cannot underscore the foundational belief that you and your partner have to agree to about needs versus wants. Do you really need that other suit, that car, or a new television? Having a budget gives you control over your money. Second, you also get a realistic view of how you spend your money. A budget allows you to see how much you really spend on food, clothing, and other sort of non-fixed, or what I call discretionary purchases. You just have to have it. Once you've created your budget, you have to actually stick with it. So for those of you who have one, I mean, you recognize that you may not have a style of operating in your life where you sort of manage or plan these sort of little things, but you can do it. I know you can do it. This is a lot easier said than done, I know, but it may take several months, ladies and gentlemen, until you and your partner are able to get acclimated to utilizing and following a budget, to reviewing it on a consistent basis. You'll certainly have to work on it constantly throughout your relationship, but it is critical and you will enjoy the benefits of it. When sticking to a budget, I want you to remember this. The best budget is the one that you're able to commit and live by over a long period of time. A budget should not be something that actually restricts you. It should set you free to work towards accomplishing your goals and your dreams. Now, here are some points for creating a budget that you'll be able to stick to and do it effectively. Keep it simple. My wife and I have our 33-year marriage. Actually, we started very young, and we did it with an Excel spreadsheet. We just made a list um, of of um, of all the things that we sort of are recurring purchases. Whether it's utilities or rent or mortgage, whatever it happens to be. We just made a list. And we did it on paper for a bit, and then we transferred it to an Excel spreadsheet. Very young, and we've lived by it for all these years. Now, again, you need to keep this very simple. There's no one way to do this, but I would counsel against making this complicated because it's going to confuse you. It's going to potentially confuse your partner, and ultimately you're going to get frustrated and not follow it, right? So keep it very simple. Two, I'm going to suggest you build in a reward system. Now, a good budget is one that's linked to rewards, in my opinion. For instance, if you meet your food budget for the month, or however, this is an example, you and your partner can reward yourselves by going out to dinner, a movie, a play, whatever sort of floats your boat. But you've obviously have budgeted these things in the eating out or entertainment category. But you want to reward yourself, pat yourself on the back sort of symbolically by enjoying something that's meaningful to you. Now, thirdly, you got to work together. A budget is meant to be shared by two people. And working together is the very best way to ensure that you're both going to stick to that budget that you've created. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we all live in a dangerous world full of accidents, and we know something that was not planned for is going to happen. Getting in an accident with your car, becoming disabled, or a sudden illness all have potential setbacks for you and your partner. So at some point on the path to financial peace and freedom, you're going to have to face these unexpected events, and it's smart to plan for these occurrences today, knowing that they're going to come at some future date. So the good news is you don't have to take a lot of planning to ensure your financial safety if an accident does occur. Set aside some amount of money. Here's my suggestion to you, if you don't mind. I'm going to ask you to set aside 3 to 6 months worth of your salary as an emergency fund. This will help you keep from after going into debt when an emergency actually does occur. So one of the goals you may have, which I certainly recognize, I'm saying 3 to 6 months, and you're living from paycheck to paycheck, and you're wondering how in the world am I going to save 3 months of my salary? I don't have a penny at the end of the month. I get what it's like to live when there's more month at the end of your money, right? There's more month at the end of your money, right? I get that. But a little bit here and a little bit there to save against a rainy day is absolutely crucial. Now, there's some helpful steps that you can take against unforeseen emergencies that are both financially oriented and or protect your financial situation in terms of some documents that you will need to utilize. So can I discuss some of the documents that may be helpful to you and a couple of helpful suggestions? All right, so as I just stated, there are a number of documents that can be very helpful to you in protecting yourself and your financial resources. First off, let's start with a couple of practical things, okay? Number one, I want to invite you to let your family, whether it's relatives or friends or whatever, know where your most important items are kept. It could be a safe deposit box, a storage area, whatever. You just want to let somebody know where your valuables are in the case that you're unable to communicate it later on. Second, video record everything in your home. Walk through each room in your home, including the hallways, the closets, the garage, and get a video record of everything in your home. Also, you want to have a video record or a photo of your important papers. And you want to make a copy of those so that you have a copy and that someone you trust has a copy as well. Again, it could be a variety of people, lawyer, CPA, a trusted friend, a clergyman, whatever, okay? Any of those people would be fine. Now, the last thing I'm going to suggest is a consent for treatment when you become incapacitated. This document is probably, as many of you may know, is called an Advanced Healthcare Directive. Now you can search online for these because they're free, and they're just all over the place. They're very useful to us. And your Advanced Healthcare Directive informs your family and your healthcare providers your wishes should you not be able to communicate. For instance, if you're in sort of a coma, right? Most hospitals have provided you. If you've ever gone into a surgery, for instance, you've signed one of these, right? They're very common, and they're absolutely critical. So you want to obtain a healthcare directive. Again, they're on the internet. They're free. They're very simple, and you can dictate how you want your life to be handled in the case that you're unable, in terms of your health, to communicate that. Okay, let's go to some more legalistic kind of documents, right? The next step is to get all these documents together in case of an accident or an emergency. These documents should be, again, kept with a lawyer, a CPA, a fireproof safe in your home, whatever. If this is unrealistic, you can send a copy, like I said, to a trusted professional, a friend, whatever. Now, we all understand this may not be the most exciting part of your financial journey. I get that. Peace and freedom doesn't always, live in crescendo. There's some heavy lifting, if you will, some mundane things, planning that you have to do, but this is critical to save you and to help your loved ones. I promise you, heaps of trouble. If you've had a parent die without this, then you know exactly what I'm saying, because there's been enormous mounds of trouble and challenges that come from people not planning for unforeseen circumstances. So let's talk about 3 or 4 very quickly. You want to have a will or a living trust. If you don't have the money to go see an attorney for a will or a creation of a living trust, then just write something down that is witnessed by another, and at least you have something. But you don't want to leave. You don't want to go to bed tonight without having a will, or setting an appointment to create a living trust with a legal person. Okay. Again, if you just write it down, it's better than nothing. You write down all your wishes and desires about your sort of legacy, financially or otherwise, and what you want to see accomplished with that, and have it, have someone else witness it or get it notarized. It's something, but you need to have something. Second, we suggest a power of attorney. Third, if you haven't done this, I know I spent a lot of time on this, but develop a funeral plan. I just attended a funeral of a very dear friend who had planned out his entire funeral, and so when his wife and children and friends all participated, and they talked about this, it created a sense of peace. I know it created something for the family, because all the sort of I's were dotted and T's were crossed, because the mother and father had created this funeral plan together, and everybody knew what was to happen, and how things were to be disposed of and managed in their family. It was just wonderful, actually wonderful. Lastly, again, let me repeat, just an advanced healthcare directive. Now, this could be included in your living trust. So again, you want to sort of take advantage of this. Now, your will or living trust precisely explains what happens to your estate when you pass away, when you die. The best way to set up a will or a living trust is to see an attorney who is up to date on the latest state laws and the regulations that your state will operate under. It's important that your loved ones know what your wishes regarding your funeral is to be. It will be difficult for them to plan something once you pass, so it's best to get all this sort of on paper, and you want to mitigate against any dissension and any discomfort. It's just so selfish not to do this, and I cannot say it more strongly than that. Do you all have necessary documents in order, all of you who are listening today? If you don't have any of these documents, I want you to take just a second, please. Write it on that sticky note that's on your desk, right? Or put it in your tablet or phone or whatever, right? Write down the documents that you may be missing. And I'm going to suggest you put a date next to it, a date by which you will have these documents completed and filed in a safe place. Okay, so take a second. Look on that screen. What do you and your partner have or don't have? Identify that. Let's set a date to get it done. Okay, you're going to walk away with a couple of goals today, and this could be the second or third one we've already talked about. Now, let me sort of disclose some fine print here. Okay, my role is all about the relationship and approaching the subject of money management from the standpoint of relationships. I am not a certified financial planner or a lawyer or a CPA, so I can't advise you to any of those things, but I can provide adequate knowledge and experience based on relationships, and that's where I'm going to approach it. So if you need any sort of help or advice about these kinds of things, you want to have, there's a couple of options available to you. Many organizations, companies may have an EAP, and they can provide you wonderful resources that can guide you in many of these issues. You can see again a trusted professional or a friend, people who know about these kinds of things. So access all the things that your HR department has, that your employee assistance provider may have. You want to investigate these things, which are free or and very accessible to so many. Now, let's talk about debt. Simply put, debt is caused by borrowing money. Now, if you've never borrowed money, you would never owe any money other than the sort of the IRS, of course. But the easiest way to get out of debt is to pay everything off you owe and never borrow again. Well, that's probably unrealistic to never borrow again, but it's just not that easy, right? Because we need to borrow money for things that we can't afford, like a home or a college education, maybe those kinds of things. Borrowing money is not uncommon, and debt is not the end of the world. However, being able to deal with your debt is critical to the financial peace and freedom and the relationship that you're striving to create and to maintain. Now, if you want to escape debt, you need to make more money than you spend. This is called living within your means, and it's actually the most practical way of staying out of debt. You must possess a wise attitude towards debt, or it will always be there to haunt you. But how can you get to this point? Well, you may think if you made more money, you'd be able to stay out of debt, but I can almost guarantee you that this is not really true. People who spend more than they have um, on modest budgets sometimes probably overspend no matter how much they make. Now, to many people, the amount of money is never enough, and I sort of get that. I think all of us have certainly felt this way at some period of time, or for a long period of time, perhaps. But the truth is, you don't actually need to spend more money. You need to spend less. You don't need to make more money necessarily, but you do need to spend less. You need more wisdom, more personal discipline, more of a united front in terms of what you want to accomplish together and how you manage your resources. So understanding the value of living within your means. Again, I know I sound like, whatever, but you want to live below your means, okay? You can begin to understand what it feels like to shake off the shackles of owing money. This is one of my favorite quotes about debt, and I thought I'd share it with you today. We've often heard that interest is a good servant, right? If you make enough money, you can earn interest, right? But if you have to pay interest, it's a terrible master. So J. Reuben Clark Jr. said this. He described it this way: interest never sleeps, nor sickens, nor dies. It never goes to the hospital. It works on Sundays and holidays. It never takes vacation. Once in debt, interest is your companion every minute of the day and night. You cannot shun it or slip away from it. You cannot dismiss it. It yields neither to entreaties, demands, or orders. And whenever you get in its way or cross its course or fail to meet its demands, it crushes you. A sobering thought about debt and the money we pay on our debt. So the best way to stay out of debt is to plan to get out of debt immediately. As mentioned before, create a simple budget that you can stick to. Now, in your budget, include how much you're going to allocate to pay off your short-term debt. Absolutely critical. Decide with your partner how quickly you would like to get out of debt without being sort of unreasonable about it, right? Don't you got to make a realistic plan to stick to it. Now, create a plan for paying off your debt is critical. Take the amount of short-term debt that's on your balance sheet and write down some realistic dates, ladies and gentlemen, which you want to have that debt cleared. Listen, you're going to be 10 years older anyway. You're going to be 5 years older anyway. No matter what you do, things are going to be sort of the same as they were today. You're going to be older anyway. You might as well be older with this stuff cleared off your chest and get off of your back. Look at your budget and allocate enough money each month to pay off your debt. Make a commitment with your partner to stick to your plan until you've paid it all off, and you will find something wonderful and a certain peace and freedom that many people, sadly enough, never achieve. Get out of debt is a joint effort, and unless you're both willing to make the strides and the sacrifices necessary to get out of debt, it's not going to be easy. So first, realize getting out of debt is going to take some sacrifice, okay? You may not be able to do everything you want and have all the things that you want to get done tomorrow. We've talked about that. You got to do a little bit every day. That's where you get into the debt in the first place, is if you don't take action now and even do it a little bit at a time. You may not be able to buy the new suits as often as you'd like, go out to eat for lunch as often as you do today, but you can find the areas, ladies and gentlemen, that you can cut back on. Many people fail to stick to a budget because they underestimate the value of paying $10 here and $50 there. Don't fall victim to paying off your debts because the amount of money is less than you had hoped. You want to pay off it a little bit every week, every month, every quarter, every year. You want to chip away at this debt. And there's a certain peace that will come to you because you have this contentment that you're making positive progress. And you need, in this crazy world today, you need all the motivation, all the accolades, all the self concept that you need to make the choices and the successes that you need to make in your life. Second, let's hold each other accountable, okay? This is definitely not easy. The last thing you want to do is to be told what you can and can't buy. I get that. But however, if you want to escape debt, this is a valuable tool to help you do so. Just by holding each other accountable, you'll think twice before making a purchase that your partner might not agree with. The idea here is to regularly schedule your sort of couple counsel, okay? Perhaps monthly as you pay your bills and review your finances. This is a way to sort of keep us accountable. Lastly, we got to support each other here, okay? Being supportive in your everyday mission to become debt-free. Encourage each other to stick to your financial plan, and you may be surprised, as I guarantee you will be, at the results given some time. Remember, being in debt is not the end of the world. You got to keep some hope here. Keep trusting in yourself. Keep trusting in your partner. Strive for these common goals. As long as both of you are willing to work with the same thing, there is hope that you can get rid of this debt once and for all. Now, if you need some additional help, you can contact one of the many organizations that can help you get out of debt. Be careful, though, because some companies market themselves as sort of consumer credit counseling services and label themselves as nonprofit, still work directly for credit collection agencies, not just you as their customer. So do a search. Do some reasonable searches to make sure you can help, if you need that kind of help, to eliminate debt, not just to consolidate your debt, but to eliminate it. Now, commit to yourselves that you're going to do whatever it takes to become debt-free. That's your choice today. You can end this webinar today making a commitment to yourself, and something will happen inside of you. If you make that commitment, I'm going to become debt-free, I'm going to develop a plan to do so, something will happen in your attitude and inside your heart that you will just feel better. Your day will get better, and your day will feel better every day if you remind yourself of these commitments that you're making to go forward. Now, let's take just a second quickly on investing. It's an important part of your financial relationship with your partner, and you want to set some goals about investing. What does that look like? Well, your first goal should be to let your long-term savings go to work for you. What does this mean? Simply put, don't spend money on any get-rich-quick schemes. Don't expect, if you're not a day trader, to become a whiz-bang and you're going to get retired in a couple of years because you're a genius day trader. The smartest goal is to invest wisely over the long term. I'm talking maybe 10 years. Okay, you want to have a long-term view of these kinds of things. There's too many variables and vicissitudes in our economy and our world today. You want to have a long-term view. Decide with your partner what you're going to be investing for. Are you trying to save money for a child's tuition? Are you planning to retire comfortably? Regardless of your end desire, it's just imperative that you set some same investing goals that you can work together on. Now, once you've set your investing goals, you need to decide how you're going to invest. Your partner may be a big stock trader, whereas you may prefer government bonds or mutual funds, whatever it happens to be. You just both have to get together, create a mixture of the two ways that you all sort of look at things, combine yourself into a plan of how you're going to invest, and make sure you understand together the risks involved with whatever you're willing to take. That's an important thing to talk about, the risks of the investment and what you're willing to sort of put at risk. Now, a couple of basic principles very quickly. Max out, my suggestion is you max out your 401k immediately. If you can, you want to put as much money as you can afford toward your 401k. It is free money. It is found money. The smartest move, if you're fortunate to have your company offer a 401k, that's the very first thing you can do. Also consider talking to a financial advisor about an IRA. There's some wonderful things that can be achieved and at little cost. Many providers, provide a small amount of life insurance as a part of your entire benefit package. If you don't know whether or not your benefit package includes life insurance, you want to talk to your HR department or whomever to see whether or not they offer, and to make sure that you're getting it may be small, but you're participating in that life insurance, may be part of your benefit package. Make sure that you're signed up for it if it is offered. And lastly, simply consider a financial advisor, something I am not. This could be someone at your bank, your credit union, certainly at your EAP, they can probably connect you to people that could help you here, and some resources that could be very beneficial to you. So you have a lot of opportunities, straight ahead of you. Investing, again, is a lifelong pursuit. Keep your goals in mind, and you got to stick together, and you got to be joined at the hip with this thing. The best thing you can do is not to discourage if one particular investment doesn't sort of produce the results that you wanted. You want to diversify your portfolio to the extent that you can. You got to keep a positive attitude to your financial results, because freedom and peace is within your grasp. It just may not happen now, but you're going to be 5 years older anyway. You're going to be 10 years older anyway. You're going to be whatever many years older anyway, and you want to make sure that you've got financial peace and freedom within your grasp. So as I wind down here, these simple reminders provide you with a necessary key to unlock the debt chains that will move you towards financial peace and freedom. So what have we discussed today? Well, in our session, we've discussed the importance of holding a couple council. Have a money talk in the context of a couple council in an environment that is encouraging and fostering cooperation. Next, you're going to create a list of things that you own and things that you owe to determine your net worth, to give you a reality check of where you are today. Next, you're going to create and live by a simple budget. Start it today. You'll feel better about yourself and your relationship if you get this done as soon as possible. Protect your financial legacy and valued possessions by gathering various documents, photographed or legal documents in any fashion that we've talked about. You made a list, right, of the documents you may not have, and you want to get to work on some of those as soon as you can. Create a plan to get out of debt as soon as possible. And when you're able to consider an investment plan, even the modest investment plan is helpful and is valued. Well, I've certainly enjoyed having an opportunity to share with you some thoughts about managing your money. Remember, it's the root of relationship issues, and that may be a great motivation for you. So thank you so much for attending our session today, and I'll be happy to take a couple of questions if desired. So Erin, I'm going to turn the mic back to you, and I'll be here waiting if there's a question or two that I could help the audience with. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. We do have a couple of questions that have come in, and for all of the attendees, thank you so much for your participation in the polls. And if you have a question for Mark, just enter it in the chat or the question window on the right side of your screen, and it'll be sent privately to me, so it's anonymous, and I will share that with Mark. Okay, Mark, our first question. My husband was always given whatever he wanted growing up and does the same thing with our children, but I was not raised that way and don't feel like that is a good lesson for them. How should I bring this up with him?
That is a great question, and a timely question, actually. How to bring it up becomes a function of perhaps your husband understanding his emotional need to give things. And if he's, sometimes we get lost as a parent because we may not have had as much as we would have wanted, and we want our children to have a better life experience than we had. Some parents may get confused into sort of not that intensely you're trying to buy loyalty or buy love, but you're certainly providing things in an environment to love, and you hope that those things will be recognized for what they are and the sacrifices a parent may make to provide those things for their children. I recommend constantly a theme that has worked for our home, for ever since we've had children. That is a learn to earn philosophy. We need to build children's character, and the only way to build children's character is to provide them an opportunity to earn everything they have. Once they get to be a young adult, my goodness, the culture shock is just, it's like a cold towel on their face when they recognize that they're no longer entitled to all these things that they've been given and provided for as they've grown up. They actually have to learn to earn something, and they have to be responsible to produce a result. So my suggestion is, number one, let's have a discussion with your partner about why he feels he needs to provide this. What is it he's looking to gain? Does providing things without any work actually produce the character that you want 5, 10, 15 years from today? Is there a better way? It doesn't mean you can't do it periodically. It just doesn't want to be a regular thing, like I'm assuming your question is implying. And then let's look, what's best for the children. Is it best for them to learn to earn? to be prepared for a world that is demanding results and demanding uh, accomplishment. And so we want to. I think that's a good way to handle it. Not the only way, but maybe an effective way to do it. Make learn to earn a philosophy in your family, and I believe that it will benefit your children and solidify your relationship.
Great, thank you, Mark. Our next question is, how do you engage an oblivious spender who refuses to focus during the money talk?
Boy, that's thank you for that question. That that happens more often than we'd like to admit, and I would tell you that um, uh, we the best way to do that is to give people a reality check in terms of putting it in black and white. I mean, oblivious spenders need two things. One is they need to be confronted with the black and white, the concretized, the codified, the written down sort of realities of where they're at, how much we're making, how much we're spending, and if you can afford it, it's what are you sacrificing to be able to purchase or save for later on in life that you're sacrificing at the whims of an oblivious spender. I think you have to put it down in black and white for them. Number one. Number two is, I think in a loving way we can you're going to have to be sensitive about it, but you want to say, what is it about this spending behavior that's meeting an emotional need of yours? All of us act or behave based on a certain set of values or emotional needs. What need is being achieved um, by a lack of sort of responsible financial management? Because that need obviously is overwhelming some other very responsible things that oblivious spender does not sort of is not on their radar, right? And so it becomes an emotional thing. There's a book called Languages of Love that may be valuable to you to take, and it sort of just identifies the 5 love languages, the 5 ways we communicate and accept love, and it's a very helpful book. And a person may begin to understand that their way of love is simply utilizing money to that end, and it has its consequences as well. So you want to, I think those are a couple things for you to look at. It's obviously a very sensitive issue, uh, but and one that I believe your partner probably is going to need some help with. I don't believe that an oblivious spender is going to have one discussion and instantly change. I think it's just a characterological issue. I think it's a deeper issue about emotional needs. It's going to take a long time, and I'm going to invite you to hold this black and white, if you will, this concretized, this codified, this written assessment of where spending is and why that is not meeting our financial goals. And you're going to have to hold this person accountable in a healthy and an appropriate way, because it's not going to stop tomorrow, right? There's too many other underlying issues that probably add to this. So I'm just going to ask you, could you get the reins on, and can you get the spurs, in the boots, and let's see if we can't just ride this horse for as long as we can in terms of your investment of emotional time to manage and remind your partner of this sort of habit of theirs.
Great, thank you, Mark. That was excellent advice. All right, let's do one more here we have time for. My husband is overly non confrontational and doesn't want to talk about money. How do I approach the subject and help him understand how important this is?
Gosh, there's probably another great question. I think there's several things you can do. Avoidance is just again, between us people, right? Us girls, as it were. Avoidance is a form of communication that obviously speaks again of underlying issues. Um, a lot of people don't like confrontation. They feel uncomfortable. They feel at risk. They feel uneasy. And so they avoid conversations like this. So again, I'm going to ask you, as their partner, as their loved one, can you have this conversation about how they viewed money growing up? Did they see, parents or whatever fighting? What is about the stress of conversation about money that is creating an avoidance in their life? I mean, that's the underlying issue, and I think that's sort of step one. You're going to have to learn to play at some form, their therapist, and help yourself see and help them understand why they behave the way they do. So I think a question about when it comes to money, I notice that um, you want to avoid it, and I feel like you don't care about me or our financial future when you avoid it. That's using an I feel statement that Aaron and other folks can teach you more about, but it's a very important principle of asking a question from an I feel statement, right? Again, that's a discussion for another day. But I think you want to engage that conversation. What is it about money that causes you to feel uncomfortable? What is it about this discussion? Is it me? Is it the amount of money? Is it that you feel unsuccessful? Do you feel threatened? What is it about this discussion of money that keeps you from engaging yourself fully in a discussion? Because it's important to me, right? And I think it's, again, you're talking from your position. It's important to me that we have this discussion. I want to be united with you. I feel much better if we're together. I feel like there's a lack of unity we may be experiencing in our relationship because we're not talking about money. And I like that. I need that as your partner. And I'm asking for you if you could please invest yourself to help me feel more comfortable and to help me be more understanding of you, because I don't want to resent you. I don't want to hold a grudge against you for not doing this. So I've always found honesty is the best policy. It's just finding a way that you can be honest emotionally in a way that doesn't put them on edge or threaten them. And so practicing an I feel statement. When you do this, I feel this is the method, and it's a very effective method. I'd encourage you to utilize it in this case.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Mark. We're right at the end of our hour, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. I just want to thank everyone for attending. We appreciate your time, and I'll just ask Mark if he has any closing thoughts.
Well, thanks, Aaron. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate these questions and your investment of your time today into a very important subject. Again, the way I approach things is at the underlying issue. It's about the relationship. So I get it that you may not be, financially motivated to create a budget. You may not be financially motivated to assess, your assets and your liabilities and create a balance sheet and the net worth identification. I get it that those kinds of mundane things are not very exciting to you, and unless you're sort of motivated financially, I get that you may not have a lot of motivation at all to do it. And for those people who said they don't have a budget but they'd like to have one, it's all about personal motivation. So I'm going to ask you to do this. I want you to consider that the motivation may have a little to do with money. The motivation I'm asking you to invest in is the motivation of love, the love that you have for your partner, the wonderful experience, the relationship, the joy that you have with them. You've got to preserve it. And so if money isn't your motivation, let love be your motivation to make a change today to protect this wonderful relationship you've invested in for such a long time, to make sure it never becomes risky. It never gets at risk because we were unwilling to invest the proper time and the mundane practices on a day-to-day basis to do the things you want. It's more about love, and it's all about the relationship. And money's just a manifestation of that. Thank you again, Aaron. I sure appreciate the opportunity of being with you and this wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, Mark. We all appreciate your time. I hope everybody has a great afternoon.